Hey, thank you, Alden. So we're gonna spend some time and you're guys gonna apply what you just learned to do an activity. But before we do the activity, just I'll share some on how to make a sketch. So first is to identify the tools and materials you need. So for example, the ruler, pencils, graph paper, which you will use today. Then think about the sketching, the design of the system. So you have to think about and include, all the parts, including the dimensions. If you know it, this is a sketch, so maybe you may or may not know it, but you do your best to put as much details as you can. And most importantly, think about your customer requirements and needs. So I know all of you have worked with different types of customers. Make sure you really understand what they want because it'll be crucial when you design your system. And then the follow-on activity is that you can create several design sketches and ideas. The first one may not be the best, so it's good to always have different types of ideas, and you should always sketch those out as well, because you never know, you may come back to it, or you may take parts of it for your final design. Then once you decide on that design, identify all the parts and materials of the system, and you list them down. So we're going to also go through that exercise today in our activity. Then measure the system and record it onto your drawing. So I think Alden was mentioning about scaling. Won't worry too much about that, but that is also very important. But make sure that you do have the accurate dimensions. So for example, if you guys are using the cart, the length, the width, the height, you're gonna also need a frame to hold the light onto the cart. So make sure you understand those dimensions that you need. So details are important. For example, where are you gonna put the lights, the location of the lights, or the power switch, right? Things that you may not consider, but you need to consider all of it, and where you will place it. It's all critical to the design. So a few hints on the side, think about the maximum size of your system, because you want to make sure that you fit your design onto the paper, and so make sure you understand what is the maximum the system can be, and also what are the customer requirements. It's very critical because you want to make sure that what you build is what the customer wants. Alden, could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so we're gonna do an activity. Mr. Shin, I have a quick question. Do we have 10 minutes to do this, or are we short on time? Just want to make sure.
You have 10 minutes because the bell rings at 11:56.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Shin. Okay, Alden, could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so the activity task. So I'm gonna give you all 10 minutes. I hope, Mr. Shin, have you provided your students with the graph paper template?
Yes, I have.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mr.
Okay.
Sasaki, really quick, maybe
Yes.
ask the students if they have any questions
Okay.
to what Alden had presented,
Yes.
and maybe some of the specific instructions.
Okay. Yes. So to the class, do you have any questions? If you do, please come up to the mic and ask your question, or raise your hand.
Anybody? At this point, they're ready to partake in the activity.
Okay. Okay. So if anyone has a question, please ask or write it in the chat, and then we will address them. So your task today onto the graph paper will be to draw the PVC pipe frame onto the cart. And I'll give you 10 minutes. Alden, could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so everyone should have these two pieces of paper. It could be front and back, but you should have a graph paper template with at least the cart drawn on. Your job is to now draw the PVC pipe. Now, as Alden mentioned, the scaling, each block into the graph paper represents 1 inch. So it should be fairly easy. So think about how big, how high, how tall the PVC pipe needs to be. And you can just fill in the graph paper. You can just kind of fill it in. And then also make sure you write down the dimensions, like how you see it drawn on the card. And then on the right side, put down all the parts that you need and also the tools that you need as well. So remember, that you're gonna have to mount the PVC pipe onto the cart. So how are you gonna do that? To make sure you write those kind of things on your graph paper. So things to consider. I went over that. Number 4, yes, remember to label the things, label the dimensions. And then on the right side, put down the amount of quantity that you need and also which tools do you need as well. Okay, any questions before we start? Anybody have any questions on the activity or clarification?
To clarify things before the students start, they have to draw the PVC pipe around that's going above the cart, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And then they have to identify the parts on their other sheet handout.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Along with the number of items that they need.
Yes. Yes. That is correct.
All right.
So just to the class, remember this PVC pipe frame. Please consider that you're gonna also hang lights on it as well, right? But for this activity, just consider the frame. If you finish early, then consider how you would mount the lights onto the PVC frame. And if you finish early, you can come back to me. I'll have another assignment for you, yeah? So we'll go from there. Okay, so if there are no other questions, Alden, can you start the timer? Everyone, you have 10 minutes. At 5 minutes, I will let everyone know you have 5 minutes left, and then we'll go from there, yeah? Okay, good luck, guys.
Mr. Sasaki, so if we do have students that finish, there was an error in my end. I didn't realize that the Xerox machine printed out very light, so the blocks do not show. So I'm just having the students use their rulers.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
And I'll make the adjustment the next time that I print out the next one.
Okay. So maybe to the class, since the block may not be visible, it is very now critical that you write down the dimensions, yeah, of how much you need.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shen.
I will also mute this so that if the students do have a question, I'm gonna basically unmute it so that they can ask questions.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Shen.
Oh, Giga.
What does the system mean?
What does the system need?
So on the other handout,
Oh, got it. Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, so in a system, we have different subparts. So for example, we have the cart. We also have the lighting system. So the lighting system could include like the PVC frame and then the lights, for example. The cart itself could include the cart, and then you see those little containers, those black and yellow containers where you may put the plants in. So so the system is like, I guess, the subsystem of your design. Did I answer your question? Did I clarify it? Or Mr. Shin, do you think do I need to clarify it more?
I think that just to reiterate, maybe to summarize, just what you said, just make sure that we got it correct. So on this system, this overall system, we have two subsystems. One is the cart and one is like the grow lights with the PVC pipes. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And for each subsystem, you want them to break down the parts. For example, if they have the PVC pipes, the grow lights, maybe they need the hooks to hold the PVC pipes. Is that what it would be?
Yeah. Cheryl, did you want to add something?
Yeah, this is part of how engineers organize the costs, so that if you change something on the lighting, you don't have to look at all your entire list of materials and supplies. It makes it a lot easier if you make a change to just focus on that subsystem. It could be the tray for your grow out tanks, something that you add on to the cart to lift it up or whatever it is. It makes making decisions and monitoring your cost and materials a lot easier. So that's the purpose of grouping, making your groups, or what we call subsystems.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. So we have about 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Yeah, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. It's a good question.
Also, if your costs go too high, it allows you to look at things and see where you want to reduce your costs or your materials, and you know what it's connected to. It's just a lot more efficient.
So for those who have already finished the frame, you can consider where and how you will mount the grow lights. So you need to consider that. Okay, we got about 10 seconds, but I'm gonna start wrapping things up because I know you guys gonna have to leave for your next class or lunch in 6 minutes. Mr. Shin, I was wondering if you could help me out. Could you maybe help me identify one student that could share their design and explain why they designed it?
Right.
Maybe you could show their design to the camera so the folks on the Zoom can see.
Okay, Toa, come up. Come on out, buddy. Yep, bring your drawing. All right, so I'm gonna hold it for you and then that way you can explain it.
Okay.
No, stay over here. Are you guys able to see it from your end?
Not me, maybe.
Maybe if we turn off the slide,
Right to what?
Davin.
I think that's for each of us though, yeah. I think if we put ours to, if you can pin Randy Shin's, if you know how to do that.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I think that should be good, Randy, yeah. I mean, we
I
can.
got it. Now we can see.
Okay, yeah, so please explain to us, wow, it's a very beautiful drawing there, by the way. Your thought process.
Just do any kind of.
What? So I got this.
You can do it then.
Oh my God, I'm working through.
Go ahead, what were you thinking when you drew this?
I drew the body part. I measured it 6.5 inches. Then measured the lighting 2 or 4 feet. And that's all.
So what I thought, you did a great job there, and if I can barely kind of see it, but you actually drew the plants coming out of the containers, which is awesome because yeah, you need to position the grow lights right where the plants can grow too. So you know, not putting the grow lights like right above the container, right? So I think that's a great job there, and it seems like you thought it through. I can't see if the dimensions are there, but if they're there, that's awesome, right? And if you also noted which ones are the PVC pipes and which one are grow lights, yeah, great. I think great job, fantastic job. So everyone, give him a round of applause. Alden, could you come back to the slide?
We can do one. Want to do one more, or you want to save it for tomorrow?
Miss Ishii, what do you want to do? You want to keep going or share?
We could. I'll defer to Mr. Shin.
Okay.
Well, we have about 3 minutes before the bell rings.
Okay.
And we do have another volunteer though that wants to share.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Go ahead, Zara. Explain your drawing.
So I can PVC pipes and grow lights and label.
Explain your thinking behind it.
I just put that together.
Wow, Cyrus, so smart. So smart, Cyrus.
And I labeled the inches.
Yeah, I think it looks great, by the way. Good job there. I think, you know, you do what engineers do. You put the dimensions, you know, you labeled things. Yeah, I think you have the right skill set. And I also saw the thought process in there. So thank you for sharing. Yeah, everyone, give him a round of applause. Okay, Alden, let's see if we can, we got maybe 1 or 2 slides, or yeah, maybe, so quickly, can you go to the discussion slide, I guess,
Oh,
Alden?
yep.
Yeah, so Mr. Shin will share this with you, but here are some examples of what the sketch could look like. So I think all of you guys did a fantastic job. And I guess we're about out of time. So before you guys all leave, well, maybe Alden, you want to do the last slide, the summary and questions, or
Oh,
summary?
yeah, sure. So just to recap on what we talked about today, the design sketch is an effective way to communicate important design elements to you and to others. And it's also a good way to brainstorm ideas and for your inventions. And finally, you can use your design sketches to make changes and improvements to your design in a low-risk environment. And now we can we can answer some questions that you may have. So does anyone have any questions?
If we do have, because of the bell rang, is it okay if we address the questions at another point in time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to just thank Mr. Shin. Thank you, and to all of you. Really, I hope you guys learned something. This will help you in your design and on your way to become maybe a future engineer. So thank you, and good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.